Good afternoon again, folks. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels. We're getting back to the JRC in just a moment, but first, the disclaimers and the trigger warnings. If you're unfamiliar with the Stop the Shocks campaign or the campaign against the troubled teen industry, pertinent links are there in the description box. We have Autistic Koya's massive archive, where we literally get the bulk of material in regards to the JRC from. The article written by Neuroclastic, where they interviewed over 800 ABA professionals in regards to the JRC's so-called behavior modification program, the very same one that got the JRC so upset they actually threatened a defamation lawsuit on Neuroclastic, so please read that article and share it. We do also have Neuroclastic's GoFundMe linked in there because unlike the JRC, we don't have access to unlimited funds money. Trigger warnings when we discuss places like the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center or Agape Boarding School for Boys. You're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips or surveillance footage of people with mental health issues and disabled people being tortured and abused. If you got young children present, please utilize the headphones. Also, this channel is marked not for kids for a reason. We do use profanity and speak on dark subjects. If your child's 16 and younger and they are watching, parental supervision is advised. I have had the chance to calm down, folks. I've had a chance to calm down. And I'm not even going to try to predict the next disaster that's going to light my phone up like a Christmas tree because I don't feel like tempting fate today. I'm barely able to get a hold of to see what all is going on with RFK Jr. today as is. So, we will just go ahead and get right back to it. Alright, so, next sentence, right? Okay, let me go back here. Sorry, folks, I gotta go back here. It's been a second, alright? Alright, there we are. RM resumed ESD treatment, which again had an immediate and dramatic impact on RM's SIB and AB. RM no longer required the constant use of restraint. Jesus fucking Christ, how dumb are you people? The GED device is a restraint. When you design the GED device to shock the skin, literally designed so that it will hurt when you use it. Your words, JRC, not mine. And then you put the electrodes specifically right over muscles. If you use that then to skin shock someone, if the electrode is right over a muscle, do you understand what happens when you shoot electricity directly into a muscle? It tenses and constricts against the will of the poor person that you're shocking. Now we know, again, your words, JRC, that two of electrodes went on the calves of the legs. One electrode for each leg. When you use that button, say a kid's trying to walk and are upright, it is going to seize those muscles, which means the person wearing it can no longer control the movement of whatever muscle you just shot electricity through. Do you know what it's called? When you're wearing a device that restricts our ability to move, restraint. It doesn't stop being restraint just because it's powered by remote control. It doesn't stop being called restraint just because you don't have them physically tied to a board. Although, JRC, speaking of a board, we know for a fact that due to people having the horrific sin of refusing to remove their coat, you actually did tie Andre McCollins to a 4-point board face down with a noise canceling helmet over his head and proceeded to shock him for 7 hours straight. The GED itself is a restraint. When you utilize the 4-point board over horrible sins such as not removing a coat or standing up for 3 seconds to pick a wedgie out of your ass, and then slam us on a 4-point board and then shock us repeatedly. Do you know what that's called? It's called restraint and torture. Gitmo for neurodivergent people, if you will. Okay? But it immediately got better. So obviously the problem was taking him off a device. Please see the previous video. Please, for the love of God, see the previous video. It gets so annoying to continue to repeat myself. But just because I know they probably won't, we're going to go over it again. And again. And again. Until the JRC goes the way of the dodo or my brain explodes. Let's find out which one. When you manhandle someone, in particular when it's done out of nowhere. If I'm engaging in an activity, I'm drinking my drink. Let's have a visual demonstration. Shall we? Shall we? Now we're going to pretend this very ladylike, skinny, weird, bony fist here is not my fist. We are going to pretend that, I don't know, it's my brother's. We'll just say that. Alright? I am over here, not knowing what's happening, happily drinking my water, and you know what? I'm going to do one of my visual stems while I do this, okay? Okay? So, do this like this. What happened, folks? I stopped what I'm doing out of shock. Even though I was going to do that, where these kids do not, I still managed to spill a little bit what's left in here on my clothing and on the floor. It's called shock. Okay? Now, just because that little hit stopped what I was doing, kind of flapped my hand like this, I do it on occasion, not very often, usually when extremely overwhelmed and resisting the urge to, we won't go there. It stops the action. The question is, just because it stops the action, does it justify the violence, and yes, we're going to call it what it is, does it justify the violence used to stop it? In particular, when it's an activity that is not harmful to anyone. And JRC, do not tell me that last resort bullshit. We all have access to Jennifer Masumba's so-called behavioral contracts. We know for a fact you shock people when they unharmful to anyone stem. Please spare me the bullshit. It's been a long 48 hours, and I do not have time for stupidity today. Okay? Just because it stopped the action that you didn't like, it doesn't justify the violence used to make the action stop. Are you comprehending what I'm telling you here? Not only that, but use of violence to stop behaviors you don't like do not have any hope down the line from stopping future behaviors. It can only stop the behavior that is happening at the moment when you inflict the violence. It is not a viable long-term solution. Punishment model never is. Because it can't be. Okay? The punishment model does not teach any alternative self-soothing coping mechanisms. It does not present to us an alternative way of handling things. It's not giving us any pointers on how to deal with the triggers before they set off behaviors. It doesn't teach us to be kind of more aware of the space that we're in and what our body is doing. It does none of these things. It just inflicts pain. And that's all it can do. Okay? But the levels decreased. Okay? Take that device right back off of them. Put them back in that other place again. About how long do you think it's going to be before those behaviors come back? Because he was sent back to his abusers. Because this is the logic we're operating off of here. How much you want to bet there's going to be even more new scary behaviors? Because now they've had more trauma piled up onto the previous trauma on top of the triggers you never actually did the work to figure out what they are and how you can work things out so it can minimize the behaviors. The JRC wants you to believe that the answer to all of the really not fun, scary parts of my diagnosis can only be treated by forcing us to endure every day of our lives pain being afflicted upon us. Not just that, but that in order to continue on, that we are going to have that pain inflicted on us repeatedly every single day for the rest of our lives. And then they want us to believe after that this makes our quality of life better. We're doing more, we're smiling, we're eating, because they cannot understand, or should I say, they refuse to understand the concept of creating a mask for survival. They cannot comprehend that we will literally create an entire fucking alter ego that we can slip into on a moment's notice in order to survive. They can't wrap their brains around the fact that we will present to them their bizarre and batshit insane fan fictionalized version of what a neurotypical teenager supposedly is to them, as a way to at least try to lessen the violence being inflicted upon us. They also willfully refuse to understand that when people leave their center, the reason why things get worse before they get better is because the JRC caused irreparable psychological damage. Because that's what abuse is. You learn to live with the trauma, but you are forever changed. Your brain, your body, your environment, how you react to things, how you look at the world is forever jaded. Your ability to trust others, the way you communicate with others, even close family and friends, that's changed. If I want to go poetic, the sky will never be the same color of blue to me ever again. We learn to live with that. Okay? It gets worse before it gets better. And if the people who are watching after our care are not homicidal, sadistic monsters, instead of forcing us to go back to the place that caused us the trauma in the first place, they will help us bring someone onto our treatment team, like I have done, someone with experience in regards to those who have gone through that same type of trauma. Okay? It stays worse for a good long minute. That's why you need to have someone on there who has experience for this exact thing to join and become a part of the team so that you're able to work through it. Because when you work through, and yes, it takes time, it takes a long amount of time and work. You'll begin to slowly recover some of the skills that you lost. I didn't just recover them, I built on them. You'll learn how to kind of live with that trauma in a way where you're not staring at everyone like they're out to get you. Something that has took me way too many years to wrap my brain around. And you'll notice the disturbing parts, the frequency, the dangerous new behaviors. When things are done right, when you get someone who specializes in that and they work with the rest of your team and it becomes a part of your overall treatment program, over time, you'll be able to function again. Those behaviors will decrease in number and intensity. Now, reality is just like with any other neurodivergent trait, they're not gone forever. The behaviors we have. We are what we are. They're never going to disappear completely. Any more than I will react when PTSD is triggered for the rest of my life. I will always also react when the PTSD is triggered like an autistic when the PTSD is triggered. Okay? But if you do things right, it lessens over time. So you're able to go out there and function and lead your own life. If what you do instead, because you refuse to admit that the JRC inflicted trauma on your child, well, they were better, and you refuse to see it, you are sending your kid back to the abuser. This isn't solving any problems. This isn't a miracle quick fix. You are fucking your child up for the rest of their lives. I'm not going to sugarcoat it for anybody's feelings. Okay? If you were a parent reading those symptoms, but you saw it was a neurotypical child that you knew reading it had suffered through child abuse, this wouldn't even be a goddamn discussion. Next steps would be to look into mental health care. I want to know why in the name of God that me and my brethren, being autistic and otherwise neurodivergent, are not treated the same when we're reacting from the exact same thing, trauma. Gonna close on that, folks. We don't get very many views on this channel, and the few that we do get do tend to get removed from time to time. So please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, and please, folks, don't forget to hit the comments. I appreciate your time. As always, folks, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. It looks like a fun storm may be starting up soon, so this is going to be my last video of the night. Hopefully, President Cheeto doesn't do anything else stupid. I'm already scrambling. I can't deal with it, folks. I can only scramble so much at a time. Bye-bye, everyone.